Thank you for viewing this RFID Community Connect video from AIM. AIM is an industry association for automatic identification technologies. It's not only RFID, but barcoding, IoT, or any other technologies that automatically identify and capture data. If you want to learn more about AIM, go to aimglobal.org or reach out to us to set up a one-on-one call where we can tell you a little bit more about how AIM can benefit your business.
Our next presentation, a really exciting one on RFID in food distribution, from shipment verification to real-time visibility. We have Patrick Sheets, the Senior Commercial Technical Lead at Avery Dennison, and Suresh Palanisamy, the WMS Application Manager at Baldor Specialty Foods. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. This is an exciting one for us. As Mike said, I'm Senior Commercial Technical Lead at Avery Dennison. I've been with Avery 25 years. I won't bore you with my full resume. What's important to you guys has been focused specifically on RFID in the food supply chain for the last 8 years. Want to spend some time talking to you about how RFID is creating value and efficiencies within food distribution. One quick note for me, over the last 8 years, any food engagement that I've ever been involved in, where we go from supplier to a retailer, whether that be grocery or QSR space, food distribution the distribution partner has always been of a squeaky wheel, right? They're doing it because they're being asked to do it. And so when I got connected with Baldor and I met Suresh and learned that they were exploring this technology for their own internal value, it was so refreshing. So Baldor is kind of a industry-leading unicorn in food distribution, that they fully embrace this technology and it's creating value in their supply chain. So we're excited to tell you a little bit more about kind of the work that we've done and some of the problems we're solving with food distribution. So I'll pause for a minute and let Suresh introduce himself as well.
Again, my name is Suresh. I'm a WMS application manager at Baldor Specialty Foods. I've been here with Baldor for 2 years now, and leading the RFID transformation here at Baldor. Before Baldor, I worked in UPS, and my latest project was implementing RFID for the Smart Package, Smart Facility project. So been with RFID for a couple of years now. Really excited to be here and share our RFID journey. So moving on. So what is Baldor, right? So we receive supplies from our vendor. We store it here in our warehouse based on the customer order. We create pallets and deliver to our customers. Looks straightforward, right? But what challenges we face with the distribution? We have thousands and thousands of SKUs that we store in our warehouse, right? And based on the customer order, it like a mixed pallet, right? It could be produce, dairy, meat, beverages, you name it, it's all going to be placed in one single pallet. And the biggest thing is a tight window. We need to generate these pallets and deliver to customer on time. And we are talking about close to 4,000 pallets per day in a 7 to 8 hour window. But there is a lot of pressure on ops to make sure we build the pallet on time and deliver with high accuracy to meet the customer need. And as you can see already, the faster we try to move, the harder it is to maintain accuracy. So that's the biggest challenge we have. So you can go on to the next slide. So yeah, we can do like verifications, right? We also try to do manual verification by having a picker scan each of the item before they pick it to make sure they're picking the right quantity and stuff. But that immensely reduced our picking process. As I said, time is the essence for us. So that was not a viable solution for us. Then we go with the manual auditing which is a heavily human dependent because it's labor intensive and with a limited real-time visibility. And also we don't have any digital proof of what was actually shipped. So these are some of the challenges we had with our traditional verification. And that's where we worked with Avery, and Patrick and his team gave us a awesome solution, which Patrick is going to drive through us.
Yeah, and Suresh, before we jump to the next slide, just to make sure everybody grasped what you said, tell us the number of pallets a day that go through a distribution center at Baldor.
Yeah, from Baldor, New York, like close to 4,000 pallets. I'm just talking about the customer pallets. We have a day operation where we generate pallets to our other data center, but in that 7 to 8 hour window, we generate close to 4,000 pallets. Yeah.
The 4,000 pallets picked, ordered, you need to verify in a 7 to 8 hour window is just insane. And Mike, you can jump to the next slide. I've spent a ton of time in Baldor's refrigerated warehouses, so it gets chilly quick. But the speed in which the operations move within these warehouses, number one, it's very strategic with the way they pick. But the speed and the amount of forklifts and pallets moving through that facility on a daily basis will blow your mind. And it's I did my best not to get run over while on site. This slide, guys, is not new information. This is not really a conversation about barcode versus RFID. Barcodes are still extremely important, and they'll always continue to be a part of operations for a long time. What RFID introduces is it's a different interaction model, right? So as we all know, barcodes have been around forever. They're a transactional experience, one-to-one relationship. Where RFID is a differentiator in there, it is a one-to-many technology using that IoT trigger of an RFID inlay that creates automated data capture in a very high-speed, complex environment. With barcodes, visibility only exists after somebody performs that scan. With RFID, visibility can get generated automatically as products move through that environment. And that was kind of our marching order. As we spent some time with Baldor and looked at their operations, we learned something really, really quick. If we do anything to negatively impact the speed of this operation, we're going to get thrown out the door. So that was kind of our guiding light to say this process has to be integrated into their existing process for this technology to be viable within this distribution partner. The shift from manual interaction to automated awareness is what makes RFID so powerful operationally with Baldor. Once that product, or at a case level, has that digital identity, an entirely new workflow and level of data granularity becomes available for Baldor and food distribution. So Mike, you want to jump to the next one? One more. Great. So as we watched, as I mentioned, we walked the process and spent a lot of time with Suresh and the Baldor team to understand where was that best point of data capture. And as we looked at their process, they've got 10 pallet wrapping stations where each pallet is wrapped before it gets put into a staging area before it goes on a truck. And so we thought, as we looked at this is the sweet spot, and this is where we want to work at. Every pallet flows through here, and we've got a couple things that happen that are advantageous for RFID. So Suresh didn't talk about this, but as they receive product coming into the warehouse, they are labeling with RFID and then it's put away on that shelf. So there's kind of a commissioning event at receipt of that product when it enters into the DC. And then that product is picked by their pickers. What's really cool about the pallet wrap station is that instead of looking at adding an additional read point or a tunnel that the driver had to run his forklift pallet through, we were able to work with their pallet wrap manufacturer and integrate that technology into the existing pallet wrap equipment. And so this is not the exact pallet wrap, but it is representative of the work that we did. So as you look at these pallets as they're getting audited, what order's picked, it's put on a pallet, they move to that pallet wrap station, and then they are dropped and they're wrapped with shrink wrap. We have partnered together with our innovation team and Baldor's IT team to integrate RFID into their pallet wrapper head. So when that pallet was dropped, RFID, the wrapper actually moves around the pallet, which was ideal for the use case that we were functioning at for case level data capture. So we had about 60 seconds with the pallet on average, and then we had motion around the entire pallet on all four sides multiple times. So it was huge. And so as you look at, as Suresh talked about the types of product where everything's mixed products, where you may have all the scary things for RFID, right? Liquid, moisture dense products, protein, cheese, yogurt, sour cream, foil line products that can be a real challenge for the technology. With the solution that we provided these guys, it was able to give them a very, very high read percentage that satisfied their needs for validation and tied back to their picker to reconcile against. And the wonderful thing about it is it does not require additional process on their side, not additional stop. A user doesn't have to do anything there. And at the end of that pallet wrap station, when that pallet is moved out of that wrapper area, Baldor has a digital record that is highly accurate at an item level for all products on that case prior to shipping that out to their end customer. Mike, you can go to the next slide.
Yeah. So as Patrick explained, once the solution was implemented, what operational value we started to see, right? So the first thing is accuracy. Once a solution was implemented, we can now check for a complete order. As Patrick mentioned, we already know in our WMS system what's supposed to be in that pallet. So it's just a matter of checking that every item was there in the pallet. So how this helped? It helped us to reduce the shorts or any overpick, and also shipping errors. So accuracy, we can improve the accuracy. The second thing was labor reduction, right? So now we don't need to manually check any pallets. We can try to check the pallets only that we think is not complete. So now we can, using RFID 1, we can just check that pallet, validate it again. So only those pallets we think is not complete that need to be audited. And the next big thing is the traceability, right? Now we have a digital proof of the shipment, like what was really in the pallet, and this eventually will reduce the credits from customers. So we know that that item was in the pallet, so it will reduce the credits that we need to give for the customer, and less support calls, so that we can reduce the support calls coming from our drivers and stuff. And the main other advantage is the visibility, right? Now we know exactly what was shipped and when it was shipped. So that kind of gives a better customer experience. So with this solution, we are able to achieve all of these benefits. Patrick, I don't know if you want to add anything to this.
I think the labor efficiency piece, Suresh, again, is just huge when you think about the magnitude of pallets that flow through a food distributor, right? And we'll use Baldor as an example. It's 4,000 a day. And if you think about capturing that data with a traditional barcode, the amount of effort that goes into that, and then you think about the time savings with that, huge operational efficiencies for the team.
Yeah, and again, as Patrick mentioned, the only thing we did not do anything different operationally, right? We were already applying labels on the packages for our scan. We just changed that label to RFID label. We are already wrapping packages before we are delivering. We made that RFID wrapper, the wrapper as RFID wrapper now. So we were able to get what we needed with this solution. Yeah.
I think the other thing on that, just talking about no changes to operations, Suresh, is I mentioned your tagging and commissioning cases as they're being received at your inbound shipment. No change there as well, because Baldor was already putting your own internal label there. So it was just kind of moving toward RFID integrated case label and then an RFID printer to drive that encoding and commissioning and printing.
Exactly, yeah. The labels, we just need to switch the labels, printer, and install RFID wrapper. No changes to the operation were made with this solution. We can go on to the next slide, Mike. So now that we have implemented the shipment verification, what is next, right? So we can now try to automate the receiving side so that we can track on what is coming into the warehouse. That's one thing where we can continue to improve. And the second thing is inventory, right? Like we can now try to do a faster cycle counts. We can do with the wand or different technologies. Now that all the labels are RFID labels, we can try to do a faster cycle count and we get a higher confidence on the inventory. So that's something we can achieve. And as far as the freshness of the product, we're already trying to identify expired item or expiring soon items. So that becomes easy. And we can also try to identify items by the sell by date. Or if any recall happens, we can try to identify that items with RFID. And
I think the other piece,
yeah.
sorry, Suresh, just to jump
yeah.
in, just to make a comment, right?
Yeah.
You touched on it, but the expiry management, right? With all the things that we see in the news and reports on food waste, being able to look at inventory rotation from first expired, first out versus first in, first out, it's a huge factor in helping reduce food waste as well. So I think that's a huge benefit in food for this technology as you think about whether you would do DSG 1096 or whether you associate extended attributes throughout that product. That level of granularity of product in food is becoming more and more obtainable and executable, right? Where we used to just talk about this 5 years ago, now it's something that we're deploying, and suppliers and customers like Baldor are seeing benefits.
Yeah, and definitely the customer experience, right? You stop any expired item being shipped to the customer. That's a key thing here. Yeah. And last but not least, the intelligence and automation, right? Now exactly we know what moved in and what moved out. So that's a key intelligence information that we can store. And with automation and robotics, any robotics or automation that can support a RFID, now we can implement easily within our warehouse. So as Patrick already mentioned, once a product gets a digital identity, new automation and intelligence become possible, and from there, sky is the limit. Yep.
Cool. Mike, you want to jump to the next one?
Yep.
And I know we're running close on time, so we'll move a little quick through this. And these are obvious, guys. If you've got some experience in RFID, this is not new information. But this technology is not magic, right? It does have its limitations. But with the right kind of logics and approach on data management and hardware configuration and label placement, things that used to feel like there were few challenges that we couldn't overcome with this technology are now we're able to overcome them. But I think read environments matter, right? In food, there are a lot of enemies to RF out there. So a lot of liquids, a lot of dense configurations on these pallets can be a challenge. But I'm happy to say with the pallet read configuration and the solution we deployed at Baldor, we are averaging 98, 99% read accuracy and above. When we see that dip a little bit, we've got some liquids in there that may cause us some problems, but it's minimal. We've talked about this a little bit before already, but process matters, right? So being able to take this technology and integrate it into an existing workflow is key for adoption, right? When you add complexity into an already complex supply chain, that's a recipe to fail. And so that's something you want to think about as you look at future deployments or opportunities where you've got within food or any market for that matter, where you're looking to say, this is not a test, this is not a science project. We want to have a proof point and a pilot that's scalable. That's a key factor on there. Read zones, again, making sure you've got the right hardware, antenna, and reader combination, tuning, and all the things, and the right mitigation are critical, especially when you've got 10 pallet wrap stations side by side to help prevent overreads. Then, Suresh, I'll save that last point for you so it doesn't sound like I'm patting myself on the back.
No, I was just going to add on to that, right? So that's a key thing, right? Finding the right partner to do this, and I'm really glad like we work with Avery on this, right? From the get-go, when we initially tested with one of the pallet wrap and then getting it installed on all the 10 pallet wrap, definitely a lot of engineering, a lot of great minds came into the place because it was not a simple, straightforward solution. Like we were trying it something new, but the right people, we had a right team on that. We worked on it, including because we need to put like chicken wires on the side so that we can avoid the overreach kind of thing. So it was a well engineered and well thought and well implemented solution So that's a key thing. Like, I'm really glad that we were able to work with Avery Dennison on this to implement the solution.
Mike, I've got one more slide. It was just kind of a power close, but for the sake of time, I know we had a little bit of technical issues. If we want to just jump to Q&A, that's fine.
Yeah, I do see some questions, Mike. You want me to just answer some of them? Okay, let me go ahead. So I see a question. Does the RFID need to be facing out? What about the items in the middle of the pallet where the label is unseen? That's an interesting thing, right? So it doesn't need to be really see all the pallets, but as long as we can see like an air gap, right? Like it's not totally dense kind of thing, we are able to read it. But yeah, if there is a tightly packed pallet, as Patrick mentioned, if it is uh, like a pickle box or something. So RFID has its own challenges, right? So we will not be able to. So it's not like every single pallet is 100%, but then we use our determination if these pallets need additional auditing. But sometimes you need to break up a pallet to wave the wand, even though the pallet is complete. So yes, there are sometimes we have it, but just because we are not able to see the label doesn't mean that it's not going to read it. Even though there is like a stack pallet with some air gaps within the boxes, we are still able to read that pallet 100%. And
Great.
there was a question. Yeah,
Oh,
good.
Shirish, yeah, we will answer those post-event.
Separately.
I
Okay,
do have
sounds good.
them noted, but Patrick, Shirish, I really appreciate your time today. This was a great presentation, and looking forward to learning more about what you guys are doing in the food space and obviously answering these attendee questions. So thank you guys
Yeah,
again. Really appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
Thanks for
Thanks,
having us
Suresh.
here.